The year 2021 marks Tempe's 150th birthday, also known as our Sesquicentennial. How do you say it?
Sesquicentennial. Sesquicentennial. Am I saying it right?
This is the 150th anniversary, which is much easier to say than sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial. Centennial. Sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial? Sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial. Sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial. Sesquicentennial. Yeah, does that sound good?
The year 2021 marks Tempe's 150th birthday, also known as our Sesquicentennial. For 15 decades, Tempe has innovated, explored, grown, and become more diverse. Now, a year-long celebration of Tempe's past, present, and future is underway. Throughout the year, we will bring together businesses and organizations to showcase Tempe through several events, activities, and storytelling. Later this year, Tempe History Museum will unveil its new feature exhibit, Tempe 150, which will bring to life photos, videos, and artifacts dating back to 1870. So join me and all of your Tempe City Council members as we visit some of your favorite Tempe places. Let's start with Vice Mayor Randy Keating and a look back at how it all started.
Welcome to one of Tempe's most iconic locations, the Hayden Flour Mill. No other business has impacted our city more. Charles Hayden, often credited with being the founder of Tempe, built the mill in which commerce began here in Tempe. It began turning grain into flour in 1874 and continued to operate for over a century. The original mill was destroyed by fire in 1917, so the structure I'm standing in front of now has been here since 1918 and was built to be fireproof. It is the oldest reinforced concrete building in Tempe. Generations of Tempeans have worked here, including Tempe's earliest Mexican pioneers. Today, though the mill is no longer operational, its impact as a Tempe landmark is as strong as ever. And of course, the Hayden Flour Mill became the namesake for one of Arizona's most famous streets, Mill Avenue.
The ingenuity of those engineers back in the 1900s was a good indicator of what was to come in Tempe. Our city is known as a progressive, ideas-driven place. We started innovating back then and never stopped. From the brilliant minds at ASU to our creative business community to our own city staff, we will always be forward thinkers. The Hayden sisters of the 1920s were thinking ahead too. Their renovations to Hayden House would set the stage for one of Tempe's most well-known eateries. Councilmember Navarro will tell you more.
You're looking at one of the most iconic buildings in Tempe, and maybe even Arizona. It's called the Hayden House, also known as La Casa Vieja. This is where the Hayden family lived from 1873 to 1890s before turning it into a boarding house. Carl Hayden was born here. The son of Charles Hayden would go on to become a prominent Arizona politician. The Hayden family restored the house in the 1920s and opened a Mexican restaurant. In 1954, the property was purchased by Leonard Monte, and Tempe's most well-known restaurant opened 2 years later. Monte's La Casa Vieja was the valley's most popular steakhouse for decades, until it closed in 2014. The building was designated a historic property in the year 2000, and several renovations have been made over the years. Today, it's the oldest standing building along the Salt River Valley.
Though we're celebrating Tempe's Sesquicentennial, the history of this area goes back much further. Native American people have been an integral part of the valley for thousands of years. A large Hohokam settlement, known as La Plaza Tempe, once existed near Hayden Butte before the year 1450. Although the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community was officially established in 1879, the ancestors of the Acamel O'Atum, or Pimas, called the Salt River Valley home long before that time. Tempe, as a pioneer settlement, has been a diverse place since it was founded in the 1870s. Many of the city's earliest settlers were of Mexican descent. Let's hear from Councilmember Doreen Garland, who will take you back to the barrios of Tempe.
I'm here in Victory Acres, an important multi-ethnic neighborhood with a rich and diverse Mexican history. Right now I'm standing in front of Santa Margarita Church, which is actually built by the hands of the people who live in this community. Mexican Americans began settling in Tempe in the 1870s. In 1873, settlers established the San Pablo barrio in downtown Tempe. And as land was developed in the barrio and nearby cities, some families moved here to Victory Acres. During this time, Tempeans of Mexican descent were facing a housing segregation issue. This was a place where they could purchase land and raise their families. Today, those community roots and family values run as deep as they did back then.
Tempe has a long-standing value of recognizing and honoring the diversity of our community, and we know this work is ongoing. Having a partner like ASU is such a tremendous asset to our city. Over the years, being a college town has brought positive change to the community. Students of color, particularly those of Hispanic, Asian, and African American descent, face systemic challenges. Their struggle for equity and their commitment to finding solutions have resulted in a more unified Tempe. Today, we remain fully committed to bringing more positive change over the next 150 years. Now let's join Councilmember Lauren Kuby as she takes us back to the early days of ASU.
Welcome to Arizona State University, educating Tempeans since 1885. Back then, it was called the Territorial Normal School, and the building behind me, Old Main, was the second building constructed on campus in 1898. Of course, there's nothing normal about ASU. ASU evolved to become one of the country's most innovative universities, a perfect partner for a city that makes waves in the desert. ASU measures success not by whom it excludes, but by whom it includes, and takes responsibility for the economic, social, and cultural health of the communities that it serves. And the university has seen its share of important people walk its halls. President Teddy Roosevelt spoke to students from the steps of Old Main in 1911. Dr. Martin Luther King spoke at Goodwin Stadium in 1964. And in 2009, President Barack Obama gave an ASU commencement speech to a packed Sun Devil Stadium. Fun fact, did you know that students have been participating in ASU sports for over 120 years, and that the women's basketball team began in the year 1899? Go Devils!
As Tempe has grown over the past 150 years, so has the need for transportation options. Our city has always been focused on connectivity. It is one of our core values. As you'll soon learn, Tempe has been an important hub for commuters since its founding. Let's join Councilmember Jennifer Adams, who is visiting another familiar Tempe place.
I'm standing at the Mill Avenue Bridge, which is Tempe's second oldest automobile crossing along the Salt River. The bridge was built in 1931 and has been in use ever since. It was the main connector for 3 transcontinental highways, including the US 60, which is still here today. Tempe has been on the cutting edge of transportation well before light rail and streetcar emerged. Since the 1870s, the riverbed has been an important crossing point. Wagon trails and railroad bridges have connected people since then. Tempe has also been a bike-friendly community for more than 100 years. Bike shops date back to the 1890s. Back then, many people rode bikes to work, to school, and to play.
Some things never change, and sometimes that can be a good thing. Tempe continues to be a bike-friendly community, placing an emphasis on bike lanes and paths. In fact, Tempe has repeatedly been named a gold-level bicycle-friendly city. And we won't ever stop working towards better transit options. In fact, it's quite fitting that the Valley's first modern streetcar is scheduled to be finished this year. Tempe Streetcar will serve one of the highest transit ridership centers in the region. Connectivity and entertainment go hand in hand in Tempe. As Councilmember Robin Arredondo Savage will show us, Tempe has offered entertainment options for decades, attracting residents and visitors from across the region.
Tempe has been an attraction for amusement venues for more than a century. In fact, Tempe's first bowling alley opened in 1903. Alligator farms and amusement parks made their debuts over the decades. Legend City, one of my favorites, an amusement park in the Papago area, operated as a mini Disneyland for 2 decades, beginning in the early 60s. I'm standing right here in front of Big Surf. Many of you may have been here at one time. Another iconic amusement destination in Tempe. It opened in 1969 and has been offering beaches, waves, and water slides ever since. While Big Surf is known for the water and the waves, it's also made a musical splash over the years. Artists like Pink Floyd, Elton John, Sting, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers have actually performed here. Even Hollywood loves this place. It has starred in a few movies too.
We've only provided a small sample of what you'll experience when you visit the Tempe History Museum exhibit, Tempe 150. Make sure to check out the entire exhibit and stay up to date on all activities throughout the year at tempe.gov/Tempe150. As I stand in front of the Valley's most interesting city hall, also known as the Upside Down Pyramid, I can't help but think about the creativity of the architects who built it. I also think about the ingenuity of those who brought us our first telephone service in 1891 and the gift of electricity a few years later in 1898. Fast forward to today, and I marvel at the brilliance of Tempe Town Lake. And I'm amazed every single day by the work that continues. Our business community, our city partners, our residents, and city staff don't ever stop visioning the future. And I have no doubt we're in store for some incredible growth over the next 150 years. So with that, let's give this one more shot.
Happy Sesquicentennial!